Sure. Tim Sweeney, I'm the founder of Epic Games. We've been working with VR hardware since the very beginning, since the very first Oculus developer kits. We see this as a revolutionary trend that's going to change the industry completely. It began with some hobbyist projects that were duct taped together, and now it's a multi-billion-dollar business, and it's going to completely change the way that gamers and that everybody experiences computing in the future. Wow, let's see. So one of the early Oculus development kits, it must have been about 2.5 years ago, while it was still just kind of a handmade prototype. It was an amazing experience. VR is this idea that dates back to the 1990s when it was done really badly, and it was kind of forgotten for about a decade, until Palmer Luckey showed up with the very first hardware, piecing together modern components, a fast GPU, fast CPU, and a really great display to demonstrate that it is ready for the mainstream now. Well, as soon as we saw what Palmer Luckey was showing, and as soon as we talked to Brendan about his potential involvement in it, we knew it was going to go big. At that moment, it was clear that this was going to launch a new industry. And a lot of the details of that were unclear at the point, but there's no doubt that we had to get involved from the very beginning, and we did. Starting with taking some old demos that we'd done and quickly repurposing them for VR, now up to building multiple totally focused VR experiences just to prove the capabilities of the medium. Yeah, VR is moving at a pace that is large multiple of Moore's Law, just because we're catching up with what the hardware has been capable of doing all along, but just hasn't been fully exploited in the context of VR yet. So going from Showdown, which is a very realistic tour through a kind of bullet time, slow motion view of a movie action scene, now to Bullet Train, taking full advantage of Oculus Touch, delivering bite-sized gameplay experience where you're battling realistic enemies in a very realistic scene. That's the pace we can expect, and the standards are going to be very high in VR. Your brain expects reality when you're in one of these experiences, and so the teams that can deliver reality will have an unprecedented opportunity. Well, the games are coming. Now the Bullet Train demo, which takes full advantage of Oculus Touch, is the first demo we've done that has a built-in gameplay experience. And so it's sort of a mini-game in itself. The industry is going to go from here. We are working on products that will take advantage of VR that will be AAA world-class gaming experiences. We're not announcing them yet, but all of this is in the works. And Epic has always taken a two-pronged approach to pushing the technology forward. In the very early days of a revolution, we push it with tech demos where we just do very leading-edge research work, experimentation, in a short period of time, figure out what's possible and demonstrate it to the public. And then over a longer period of time, we build out full gameplay experiences, incorporating all of the knowledge from the early efforts and putting them together into epic quality experiences that live up to the legacy of Gears of War and Unreal Tournament and our past games. And we are in the midst of this cycle. It's going to take years for it to fully unfold, but we are in this, and we have a wholehearted belief that virtual reality and then augmented reality are the future of the industry. Well, the great thing about the modern revolutions in gaming, starting with VR, also happening on PC with Steam and on mobile, is that it's open to everybody, all developers. You do not need to get approval from a big corporation. You do not need to lawyer. You do not need to fill out paperwork. You can go down game development tools like the Unreal Engine for free and get started. And if you can build world-class stuff, then you can get the recognition you deserve. And that's an attribute that really is true across all forms of media. Not just game development, but also social networking puts everybody in the position of being able to attract a large audience if they produce content that's really interesting. And it's really bringing these capabilities to everybody and eliminating the kind of elite exclusionary nature of fast platforms. In this generation, we decided to make the Unreal Engine available to everybody, first at a really economical subscription price, and now open up to absolutely everybody for free download. You go to unrealengine.com, and you can get the complete game engine that all of our partners are using to build their multi-million-dollar projects, including the complete source code to absolutely everything. So all of the advantages we have at Epic, we're sharing with the world to create games. It's a really unprecedented amount of power now available to everybody. It really opens up the possibilities. You no longer need to have a big company to get into this business. If you have the talent and you can find collaborators to put together a game, then you can get involved in it too. And this trend is reshaping the industry. It's all about putting individual creators out front. It's happening in the game industry, also the social media industry. Like look at YouTube and Twitch streaming, bringing a huge audience to people who are capable of producing the great streams. It's an exciting time. Well, the interesting thing about VR is that there are a lot of different paradigms that will work for content. In the very beginning, the theory was that this is only for completely immersive experiences where everything you do in the real world is reflected one-to-one in VR. And we've seen a lot of people go way beyond that. The Oculus Henry demo built in Unreal Engine 4 shows a cinematic storytelling experience right there that you're looking down on and participating on in the way that you look around. It's really liberating. And we see games where you're looking down at kind of a toy play surface in front of you and manipulating. You're not really like immersed in a realistic 3D environment, but you're interacting with things in a way that just was not possible with previous generations of hardware. And I think new paradigms will continue to be introduced. It is like the kind of early days of the movie industry or the early days of the game industry where we have not yet even figured out what the basic genres are that are possible and that really exploit the capabilities of this medium yet. We found a few of them, but the space is much larger than that. Well, our bullet train demo is meant to be visceral, fairly realistic 3D, immersive experience, and it follows a lot of the kind of game expectations where it puts weapons in front of you, makes it really convenient to play and to interact. But that's just one corner of the design space, and there's an entire range, going all the way from this level of photorealism to stylized, cartoony environments to any number of other art styles and gameplay styles. Really, going through the coin-op game revolution, the console revolution, the PC revolution, and now virtual reality, you really have to back up and take the big picture perspective that the only thing that all games have in common is fun. That there's some element there that users can enjoy. And it could be anything from Pong or Tappy Chicken or Flappy Bird all the way up to a fully immersive high-end 3D experience. And fun is the common element between them all. Well, once you're in a virtual reality environment, you're not going to want to take the headset off. And so I think there's an expectation that VR grows to encompass not just entertainment and gaming, but the entire user interface. And it will be your interface to computing. First with VR, in the future with augmented reality. Like imagine when this technology is reduced to the form factor of your Oakley sunglasses, and everybody can experience that level of realism anywhere they go. At that point, you're just not going to tolerate a little 2D flat user interface in front of you. And so it takes over the entirety of computing. I think that opens up all of this where real-time 3D, photorealistic versions of everything you're seeing, all of your social interaction and future social networks governed by that, being able to chat with somebody as if you're in the room with them. It encompasses the entirety of computing. And entertainment is just the industry that's kickstarting it, because you have these gamers who are the early adopters. They're willing to put up with imperfection because they want the awesome experience. But give it 5 more years and more polish, and I think you have a product for 5 billion users across the world. Well, I think the potential VR audience for gaming is at least the size of the console audience, and probably a lot bigger, because consoles never took root in many parts of the world, like South America or almost Asia, other than Japan, whereas VR can go everywhere. I think there's a 250 million users who are going to be willing to go out and buy a headset and put on something that right now it's admittedly a helmet to play a game, because those games are going to be so awesome that they absolutely justify it for gamers. And then I see over the next 5 to 10 years, the form factor will evolve much more conveniently into something that is really just your sunglasses. And at that point, the audience is unlimited. It is the half of humanity that has any access to power and a digital internet signal. Well, we're really blessed with a variety of awesome VR hardware. HTC Vive, Oculus Rift, and the Sony Morpheus project are all really excellent products. And this is a huge change. You remember about a year ago, there were a bunch of prototypes from a bunch of companies throughout the industry that were not any good at all. And then this year, we look around and it's nothing but awesomeness from all of the top players. And that's wonderful state. Unreal Engine supports all of them wholeheartedly. We work the most closely with Oculus because they're a great partner. We have really deep bonds with the folks there. But as a technology company, we support them all. And Samsung with Gear VR is pushing this in a way with mobile hardware that I never imagined possible. When somebody mentioned that we're going to create a little device that will hold a cell phone in front of you, so you can create a VR experience there, I was like, that's a funny joke. But they've done it, and it's awesome. I was out and visiting CCP and got to play Gunjack, built in Unreal Engine 4. And it's an amazing entertainment experience. It is better than the state-of-the-art high-end PC VR just 18 months ago. And so all around, from mobile to high-end desktop, it's a revolution in progress.